Alright guys, today I'll be showing you loft lighting, but not just any old loft lighting. I'll be showing you not only the brightest method, but also the simplest and easiest method. I'll be showing you how to place the lights in your loft, how to place the switch, and how to wire them all up. And I've learned a few simple tricks over the years that'll make this job a lot easier, so stick around because you don't want to miss them. And the best bit is that by the end of this video, any of you guys at home will be able to do this job yourself. Now before we go any further, do make sure that you're confident and competent at carrying out a job on basic electrical circuits. If you're not, then do give a qualified electrician a call. So the easiest way to do this is to get all the components in place first, and then once everything's placed and we know where it's going to go, we'll come along and we'll wire it all up. So stick around to the end of the video because you're not going to want to miss out on the wiring. But first of all, let's get some lights placed. Now for this, I'll be using 5-foot batten lights. They're really bright. If you want to grab a set of these, they're not very expensive, and I'll put a link down below in the description. So let's go ahead and fix these in place. Now you can fix them wherever you want. You might want them near the hatch, or you might want them spaced out around the loft. And to get the perfect brightness, you can have as many of these as you want. And I'll show you how to wire them all up in a circuit once we've got them all screwed in place. I'd suggest fitting these head height. Just use a level to make sure that the light is nice and level, and then grab a pencil to make a mark where you want the light to sit. Our lights come with 3 of these little brackets, and those brackets clip into the back of our light so that we can snap the light in place once we fitted the brackets. So I'll go ahead and fit those brackets in place next. So you should now have a nice level mark running along wherever you want to place the light. So now place the 3 clips along the line so we know that each one is going to be level, and you can now screw each of those brackets in place. So we now have the 3 brackets in place, 1 on each timber. Of course yours may vary slightly, so take hold of the light bar and all you'll need to do is push each clip in place. Just a small amount of force on each one and you'll hear that it'll click in position. Now repeat that process with each of the light bars throughout your loft space. So that is the 2 lights installed in the loft space. As I said before, you might have more dependent on the space that you need to light up, but we've got our 2. So next step, you guessed it, let's place the switch. So you can see this is my loft hatch, and there's a ladder coming up into the loft. Now you want to place your switch somewhere so that you can just reach in and turn your lights on without coming too far into the loft, because you don't want to have to walk up here into the darkness before you can find the light, because that defeats the object. So I'm going to fix mine on the edge of this piece of timber here so that I can just reach in and switch them lights on. So for this next step, you'll want a surface mounted back box. Let's go ahead and put that in place. So go ahead and fix that box wherever's convenient for you. So we now have all of our main components in place, and we can move on to wiring them up now. But before we do that, if you like DIY and you're not already a subscriber, please hit the little subscribe button down below for me, because you don't want to miss out on all the other good stuff that I've got to come on the channel. And if the video's helped you out so far today, hit the like button for me as well, because that helps the video to reach more people and help more people like you on YouTube. So let's crack on and I'll show you how to take some power from your upstairs lighting circuit. Now the first step in this process is to isolate the power to the lighting circuit in your home, and I'll show you how to do that now. So typically for this job you'll be taking your power feed from one of your upstairs lights. So the way to do that is to choose a light on your upstairs lighting circuit and follow the cable from that light. It'll probably be hidden in some insulation, but let's go and find that cable, because that's where we'll be putting a junction box in to take the power to our loft lights. So let's see what we can find. We're looking for a twin and earth cable. Now there's a room over here and there's a light in the middle of that room, so we should have a cable somewhere there. What's that? That's a coat hanger. Now I've had a little dig around and I've found this piece of twin and earth. Now that looks like it goes to the top of a light. So let's just check where that goes. So move any insulation out of the way so you can see. And yeah, you can see there that that goes into the top of a light on the upstairs bedroom. So that's the wire that you're looking for. You can see it's a 1.5mm twin and earth, and that runs off to the next room on the upstairs lighting circuit. So that is the wire that we're going to need to cut into to take the power off to our loft light. Now you'll notice there are 3 wires coming out of the top of that ceiling light. Now that's because there's 1 wire coming into that room and there's 1 wire going out to the next bedroom, and then there's a switch wire. Now we need to make sure that we don't use that switch wire, so trace all 3 wires so that you're sure that you're not cutting into the switch wire. Now by that I mean the wire that goes down to the switch in that room. You can cut into either of the 2 wires that either come into that room or go off to the next room. Don't cut into the one that goes to the switch for that room, because if you do, you won't have a permanent live. So we're going to be taking a feed from this piece of 1.5 twin and earth. Now first of all, just double check that you have no power going through that piece of cable. There are a few ways you can do this, but a volt pen would give you a reading if there was power going through that cable. So once you're confident that there's no power going through the cable, you can cut the cable. Now strip back around 3 inches of the outer sheath of that cable. You'll see a neutral wire, which is blue, a live wire, which is brown, and an earth wire, which is bare. However, we will sleeve that with a piece of earth sleeving. The technical name for the earth wire is a CPC, Circuit Protective Conductor. But for the sake of the video, and because I'm old school, we'll just call it an earth wire. Now strip back 5mm from the end of each conductor. Now do the same on the other end of that wire that we cut. Again, just strip back about 5mm so that you expose the end of each conductor. And again, just slide a piece of earth sleeving over that earth wire. So you should now have something that looks like that. You'll need a box of these Wago connectors because they're really easy to use. You'll see why in a minute. And you'll need a Wago box. I'll leave links to these down below in the description. Now for our connection, we'll be using some 221 Wago connectors. Open up the levers on the Wago connector, and for that cable that we just cut, we'll be placing both of those live wires, they're the brown ones, into the Wago connector. So just push that in and flick that lever down, give it a tug to make sure it's nice and tight, and do the same with the other live wire. That leaves us 1 space in that terminal, and I'll show you what that's for in a moment. We'll now do the same for the neutral wires, so that's both of those blue ones. Push them all the way in, flick the levers down, and then just give that a tug to check that that's on there properly. Again, you can see that we have 1 space left on that negative terminal. For our earth circuit, we'll use a slightly bigger 221 Wago connector, because shortly we will have more earth wires to go in there. But for now, just place the 2 earth wires we have here into the Wago connector. Flick the 2 levers down and just give them a tug to make sure they're nice and tight. So you should so far have something looking a little bit like that. You'll now need to grab yourself a reel of 1.5mm twin and earth wire, and we'll need to run a length of this from where we just cut into that wire over to our switch near our loft hatch. So you can break out one of the segments in the side of this box by just giving it a tap with a screwdriver, and then bring a tail end of 1.5mm cable through into the switch and leave enough length that you'll be able to work with it later. You can now unravel the rest of this wire and take it over to where we cut in to our power source. You may want to lift loft boarding, or you can just clip this wire along the side of the joists. But do make sure it's not trailing across the floor, because it'll end up getting tripped over. So this is the other end of that cable that goes off to the switch. This will now be called your switch wire. What you now need to do is strip that switch wire back, just like we did before. And again, just strip back 5mm of each conductor. And just put a piece of earth sleeving over the earth conductor. Now what you need to do is grab hold of the earth terminal and just place that earth conductor into the Wago connector, so you have all 3 of your earths in that Wago connector. We'll do the same with that live conductor to our switch. We'll put that in with all the other lives, so that will now be a permanent live running to the switch. Now staying with our switch wire, we also have our blue conductor in here, which normally would be a neutral wire, but we want to make that a switched live. So we need to put a piece of brown sleeving on that, so that anybody who comes to this in the future knows that that is now a switched live. So now grab another Wago connector and put your switched live, the one with the brown sleeving on, into a Wago connector on its own. Okay, we'll leave that like that for now. So that's the wiring for the switch complete. We'll now move on to wiring up our loft lights. So to wire up your first loft light, grab another length of 2.5mm twin and earth, and again strip the end from that piece of cable, and again strip about 5mm off the end of each conductor. Add a piece of earth sleeving onto the earth wire and place the earth wire into the earth terminal. Now locate the switched live that comes back from the switch, that's that one there with the brown sleeving on it, and place the live wire that goes off to your first light into that Wago connector. So that is the switch live coming back from the switch into the Wago connector with the live wire that goes off to the first light. That leaves us with a neutral wire going off to the first light, and that goes into the remaining neutral connector block. Just make sure all of those are tight. You can now place all of the wiring into one of these Wago boxes. To do that, just open the lid on the Wago box and you'll see some little grippers to put the cable through. First of all, bunch all of the wiring up roughly, and then you can place all of the wires down into the grippers on the Wago box. This section at the end is for you to place your Wago connectors down into the box. So you can push all of those down into that Wago box. Now it can be a little fiddly, but trust me, they do fit. You can then snap the box closed. So we have our Wago box over there with a reel of wire coming out to our first light. We now need to connect up the first light in the circuit. But all we're worried about at the moment is bringing that wire from our junction box up to our first light. So come to the first light that you've put up, and you can see there's a piece of flex pre-installed on these lights. What we need to do is just bring that reel of wire up to roughly where we want to connect in and just chop it off. Before we connect our twin and earth to our piece of flex, just use some of these little cable clips to secure the cable to the timber, A, to tidy it up, and B, so that it doesn't get tripped over and pulled out. And just do that all the way along the length of the cable. Now we can go ahead and join our cable to our first light. To start with, just strip back a little bit more of the outer sheath, and you'll see that we have a live and neutral conductor inside there. Strip those back around 5mm just to expose the stranded cable. You can then just twist the two conductors so that the stranded cable is bunched up a little bit better and it doesn't fray out all over the place. Leave that to the side for now and strip back about 3 inches of the twin and earth wire. Now we'll use our old friend the Wago connector, and again it's a 3-terminal Wago connector, and we'll place one of these on each conductor on our twin and earth coming to the first light. So that's one on the neutral, one on the live, and one on the earth. Now we'll connect that flex wire into those terminals. So start with the neutral wire, we'll place that into our neutral Wago connector, then go to your live wire and connect that into the live Wago terminal block. So it should look something like that. So you can see our first light is now connected. We'll now run another piece of 1.5mm twin and earth all the way to our second light. So let me show you how that's done. So we'll grab another length of 1.5mm twin and earth and we'll connect that up with the first light. So again, strip back around 3 inches of the outer sheath and strip back the conductors inside. It should look something like that, and then place the neutral wire into the remaining neutral terminal, snap it closed, and the live into the remaining live terminal, and the earth into the remaining earth terminal. So by joining that length of wire in there, we now have the wire to feed our second light. So we can chuck this reel of wire out the way for now, and we can then clip it across to the second light. But first of all, we'll put the connections we've made here at the first light into a lighting Wago box. Now it's different from the Wago box I showed you earlier. So our piece of flex wire will run out of the top of that Wago box, and the other two pieces of wire will run out of the bottom of the Wago box, just to keep things neat. And the connectors can then be pushed down inside the box, and you can snap the lid shut. You can then use the fastener included with the Wago box to hold the Wago box to the piece of timber. And you can see there, that is our first light installed. We can now run the cable to the second light. Again, just clip the cable to the timbers as we go. So I've run that cable up to our second light, and we just need to repeat the process we did before and connect these two cables together. Now, because this is the last light in the loop, we just need to connect these two lights together. Now, if you have more lights, you'll need to repeat the process that we just did at the first light so that you can link them all together. And just like we did before, we'll strip the conductors back on our piece of flex, and then again strip back our wire that goes off to our first light. A piece of earth sleeving on the earth wire. Now the earth wire is no longer needed because there's no ongoing cable, so we can just terminate that into a terminal block. Just put a little push fit terminal block on there. Of course, if you're linking this up with another piece of twin and earth to go to another light, you'll need to continue the CPC all the way through. Take hold of the neutral wire and place that into one of the Wago terminals, and take hold of the other neutral wire and put that in there as well, so it looks something like that. And then we do the same with both of the live conductors. Just give them all a little pull to make sure they've got a good connection, and as we did before, we just place all that wiring into a Wago box, and then just fix the Wago box in place so that it's secure. So that's the wiring complete to both of our lights. All we need to do is finish wiring up the switch near the loft hatch. Now we'll finish the wiring to our switch. So just cut the cable a little bit shorter, just so you've got enough to wire into the back of the switch plate, and you can just strip the conductors back. Again, we'll just put a piece of earth sleeving on that bare earth wire. Now, like we did before, place a piece of brown sleeving over the neutral wire, which is now a switched live wire. That indicates for people in the future that that is now a live wire. For this, you'll be using a one-way switch. Take a look at the back and you'll see L, L1 and L2. In some cases that L will say COM, which stands for common. That L there needs to be wired up with the live wire, which is the brown one, and L1 needs to wire up with the switched live, which is the blue one with the brown sleeving on it. So go ahead and place the switched live into L1 and tighten up the terminal screw. The earth wire will be terminated into the earth terminal in the back box, because we're not using a metal faceplate. We don't need to earth the faceplate. So just place the earth wire into that terminal and do up the terminal screw. The live wire, which is the brown one, can be placed in the live terminal, or in some cases the common terminal. Again, just do up the terminal screw. The switch should look something like that and is now complete. You can push the wires into the back box and put the face onto the switch, and use the two screws provided to secure the switch to the back box. You can now turn the power back on at the consumer unit and get ready to test your new lighting. Right, let's give this a test. Whoa, that is bright. I'm going to get a tan off them. So as you can see, that is mega bright. Let me come up here and move the camera so I'm not blinded. So that is job done, and they are ridiculously bright. Hopefully you found the video helpful. If you did, smash the like button for me, because that helps the video get out there and reach more people and help more people. And if you're not already a subscriber and you like DIY content, hit the subscribe button for me as well, because you don't want to miss out. And go and check out the Patreon. There's a group of us DIY guys over there who all support each other. You can drop a little text on there and you get help from other people. It's really handy, so check out the link to that in the description below. Links to all the products used today are down below in the description, so if you guys are going to give this a go at home, make sure you go and grab yourself some. I'm the DIY guy, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.